Hey there guys and gals, it's me nirex and welcome back to Beginner C++ Programming. So in this video we're going to talk about the .h and the .cpp file, or files rather, to see exactly what they are, what's their use cases, and why they are. Because to me, when I was first learning C++, the .h file sounded extremely pointless. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to find things that are extremely pointless to you as well. Where's this guy? I didn't even put it here. Jesus. So, yeah, definitely encapsulation. Yeah, so things like encapsulation is pretty goddamn pointless. Things like .h and .cpp seemed pointless. A lot of things just might seem pointless. Inheritance was extremely pointless. Polymorphism seemed pointless because inheritance seemed pointless, but believe me, they're all goddamn not pointless. So let's talk about these guys. Alright, so I'm gonna first talk to you about this guy, the .h and the .cpp files. We're gonna see examples of them, and then I'm gonna show you one of my own projects that I've been working on. I've worked on, haven't been working on it for a while, to give you an example and some intuition into exactly what it's all about. Alright, let's get right into it. So, if you do remember correctly, if I want to write a function, something like this, I can't really call it unless it's been forward declared or it's on the top of my function that I'm trying to call it from. So if I try to run it, what did I do? Okay, that's better. So if I try to run it, now it runs and it's all good and dandy. Let's just see out. I was gonna say see that out. Wow. So let's just see out the thing and not endl. It's better. So as you can see, easy peasy 6 is being printed for us. Easy functions, we don't give a damn about that. We already know all about them. Well, not all about them, but we know a lot about them. So yeah, basic functions, all good, all dandy. It works. But imagine if I had like 5,000 functions, which is absolutely possible, okay? It's not impossible to have 5,000 functions in one project. Not one solution, one project. So if I was to write all of my 1,000 functions just on the top of main and then 1,000 definitions below main, it would be... A shitstorm is kind of close to what it would be, alright? So this would be worse than a shitstorm. And we don't do that, right? Because computer can understand it, it's all good, but when you are reading the code, it just gets confusing as hell. So, reason number one that we use header files is because it just decreases your confusion. That's all pretty good. So how the hell do we use header files? Well, all you need to do is come again back to the Solution Explorer. I'm sorry if it's a little bit small. So come back here, right click on any of these files, header or source. Go to add, new item, and then add one of these guys. Alright, don't go with classes, go with one of these guys. Of course you could make a class, it's just gonna make things easier for us, but we're gonna do it like this. This is for the next video. So let's go ahead and create a .cpp file, or rather a header file, because we want to create our header. Alright, and then I'll be moving my header file down there. I can press F2 to rename it, or I could have renamed it back then when I was creating it. I'm just gonna say precompiled. Something like that, or not really precompiled, like my lovely, or it should all be in small, my lovely header. My lovely header.h. Alright, let's see how headers work. So I have the definition of my function right here, but I can easily put the declaration right here. And then instead of writing that, I could easily just include my lovely header. And here's another point that you need to take care of, and you need to be careful of. You can't use these less than and greater than signs when trying to include header files that you yourself have created. You have to use double quotes. That's just the rule. If I try to do something like this, oh, believe me, it's gonna give me errors down here. Cannot open source file, whatever. And there's a reason to that. Well, we can do that, but that's, you know, for another video, for a later video. So this is how you open it, right? This is how you open your header file and you include your header file. If I run my program, there we go. So all this basically does is exactly like this. It replaces everything that is here with this guy right here. All right, and that's basically what happens. So we copy all that is inside the file and we replace it with this include thing. So we replace all that is in this guy and we replace it with that. And this is all that's in that guy. We have iStream, we have OStream, we have iOS, we have a whole bunch of bullshit that just goes on and on and on. So we include all of those stuff. We include all of those stuff just to be able to print something. And yeah, believe me, printing is not as simple as you think. So yeah, I mean, in the background, in the foreground, it's just as simple as this, but in the background, it's pretty goddamn complicated. So yeah. And this is basically what happens, alright? So this is how we make our header file, but this is still bullshit, right? I mean, okay, so we have 1 million functions, I have 1 million definitions, but 1 million declarations of mine have all gone to these header files that I've created. What about these guys? Alright, so it's a good practice. You don't have to comply to this guy right here that I'm talking to you about, this principle, but it's a good practice to have a source file for each header file. So I named my header file my lovely header.h. I will just rename it my lovely source.cpp. Oh, simple, easy peasy. Now the first thing that we must do when we create a source that's going to be related to the header file is we include the header file. So we do include my lovely header. We include it there. We just do. It's just good practice. I mean, not good practice, you just have to. If they're related, you just do that. And then we put the definition inside our CPP file. I mean, you could put it here, you know, it's just no problem whatsoever, but it's good practice not to. It's good practice to put it right here in the source file. And always put a space, an extra space down below, just because. Alright, so that's basically it for this guy. Now, let's talk about why we did such a thing. So we did such a thing so that we don't have to see any of the bullshit that we just wrote. We don't have to see this, we don't have to see this. Imagine if you have like 12 functions, each of those is 50 lines. That's 50 times 600 lines of code. You don't want to just constantly look at 600 lines of code and search through them just to find your main and then search through your main. It's just bullshit. We don't do that. What we do instead is put them all here, and then all we have to do is use it without even caring what we want. Without even caring how the function is implemented. It's like a black box that we just use. Exactly like iOStream. We just use it. We do not want to see all this bullshit. We do not want to know what they do. Okay, they're just there. We don't care about them. And there are a lot of things in there. Just look at this guy. 1,000 lines. You don't want to see 1,000 lines of just random bullshit that you don't even want to know. You don't even know what they do on the top of your main function. You just include this guy right here, all taken care of. Same thing when you create your own header functions. Header files. So you just create them, put that Pragma Once there. I'll talk about it soon. And then all is good and dandy. Now let's talk about this guy right here, the Pragma Once macro. So whenever you see something that starts with a pound or a hashtag, it's a macro. But what's the point with this Pragma Once macro? So as you know, you can do, or as you may or may not know, you can do stupid shit like this. Alright? Stupid bullshit like include it 5 million times and include it here, and as you can see, builds just fine. No issues whatsoever. This Pragma Once right here basically just lets you do that if you want to do that, so you can do something like this and still have no issues. Now remember, if I take this away and still do that, there will still be no compile issues, but there are problems. You don't do such a stupid thing. Say int a in a global scope. I have one int a here. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be in this guy right here. It should be, yeah. So as you can see, int a redefinition. Now we have errors, right? So I've included it once. Int a was defined. I included it again. Again, it was defined. I included it again. It was defined again, and it was defined yet again. And that's the reason why we put Pragma Once there. It's basically a safeguard. Pragma Once. It's basically a safeguard that allows us to do such a stupid shit like this and still have no issues. So this is basically what happens if you redefine something, if you do something and don't put the Pragma Once there. Now some compilers don't really know Pragma Once, so we do it in another way. We say if in def, my lovely header h, actually it should be like that. Define this guy and then end if, like that. So this basically, these three lines basically do exactly what Pragma Once does. So yeah, just puts that whole thing in a block of macro if. So yeah, you can use Pragma Once or this guy, same diff, doesn't really matter. And that's basically it. Now let's talk about the example that I wanted to show you right here. So the example that I'm going to show you is from a rather big project that I've been working on, or rather worked on, which is named Warp Framework. It's a 2D graphical framework made entirely in C++ using Direct2D. So let's talk about the header files and the .h files. So if you look at the right side, right here, you can see that there are tons and tons of header files, and well, I haven't even opened up 3 of the other filters. Then there are 2 other projects, Logger and Module Creator, each have their own random bullshit. And this is just the core section, alright? So core, graphics, network. It has a whole bunch of bullshit that you can use, async stuff, and they're just the header files. Source files are all down here, But what I'm going to talk about is how this happens. So as you can see, within my C++ file of wgraphics, this is just one of the things that I want to show you, the wgraphics header and source file. So there are tons of other bullshit that's going to be included in each of these guys. So in header file, we have all of that. In the C++ file, we have all of these. Now imagine if I was to write them all in just one file. It would get extremely confusing. It would just go crazy. So we don't do that. We write it in this way. We put them in separate files, enjoy them, just the way we want. And wgraphics is actually a class that I don't really care about all that much. I just initialize it, I use it in some other classes to create controls like buttons and all that good stuff. I don't really do any abstract work with wgraphics itself. It's a class for creating shapes. It's not creating logics, just shapes. And so I just create shapes with this. So I don't really directly want to use it at all. And as you can see, it's 1,600 lines big. So I don't really want to do anything with it. I've just created it as a helper functionality class or something, or rather, yeah, class. So as you can see, I have the graphics.cpp, which is 1600 lines long, and then I have the header file, which is just this big, 150 lines. So I can use all of this bullshit only if I include wgraphics. And as you can see, let me just find this guy right here. So then system, graphics, I have in controls. Let's open this guy up, the button. So as you can see, it has 2 things included, control and lerp. Let's look at control. And as you can see, inside wcontrol, we have the wgraphics must be here somewhere, even if it's not. If I open this, and as you can see, wgraphics is here. So wgraphics is included in wcontrol. and W control is included in W button, and then we can use the W button to create buttons in our screen wherever we want to. Alright, so basically this guy just uses what's inside this file right here, the W graphics file, but we don't care what happens here. We don't want to see what happens here. It's a whole lot of junk code that we don't even care about. It's complicated. We don't want to know about it. We just want to use it. As you can see here, let's go here. Let's search graphics. And as you can see, I'm already using a whole bunch of functions from graphics to create logic for my button, just to make it all super simple for later use. So yeah, this is basically what we do with that. I'm just using some function from the graphics class. I don't want to know what happens inside the graphics class. I don't care about it. I just want to draw a rectangle. I don't care how it draws a rectangle. I just want to fill that rectangle. I don't care how it fills that rectangle. So that's basically it with header files and C++ files. I hope this has been a good video for you. I just hope that this has been useful. You know, just made you understand what it's all about. Okay, and yeah, that's basically it. And if you see right here, every single one of my header files starts with these guys. Well, obviously it starts with this guy, but they all have the if and def and define macros. At the end of every single one of them, there's an end if with this comment. Anyhow, that's been it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like, maybe leave a comment if you have any questions and suggestions or whatever. If you really enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And thank you for watching the video. See you in the next one.